Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Cody Kinsey. I'm a security researcher with Varonis, and today we're doing something very special, and we have our guest, Michael, on. Michael, thank you for joining us today.
Of course.
So what is it that we're going to be doing today that's different from our normal live streams, Michael?
Yeah, so normally we do a lot of like how-to-y kind of videos and stuff like that. Today we're going to have a little more fun with it. And we're going to look at a bunch of hacking scenes in movies, and if we have time, maybe even some hacking in like video games, and see how realistic are they, just respond to them and have fun with it.
Yeah, so as a hacker, I really like seeing hacking scenes in movies, and I can generally tell like how realistic they are, but I haven't seen any of these clips in advance, so I might have seen the movie at some point, but I don't really know which clips we're going to be playing, so it should be fun to watch along and see what happens.
Yes, and I was going to say as well that there might be minor profanity in the movies. We don't really control that, so if you're a kid or sensitive, viewer discretion advised. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is actually going to be the Italian Job.
All right.
And so I'm going to hop over there, and this is 3 minutes, so we might skip through parts of it.
They're pulling out.
Napster, pull up the traffic cameras you're watching. Here's the first cam of the trucks go past.
Okay, traffic cameras, definitely a thing in Los Angeles, at least, almost everywhere.
Fine and Yakadon.
Yeah, like infrastructure control systems can always be vulnerable.
But they don't need to be vulnerable. You just need to be an employee or have employee access. Like phishing will do that. Okay, somewhat realistic. What?
So I think what the
First two are the same, so
Okay, so they're comparing tire sizes from the cameras.
Houston, we have our truck. It is number 128.
So they're determining the weight by looking to see how low the truck is riding. That's great. That's very sneaky. Okay, so using access to the traffic cameras to do measurements and basically like figure out which one is which. Great.
yeah.
All right, we've got a Mini Cooper, so we know
Zoom,
that this is
zoom.
serious.
Not really hacking in a car, but
All right, still have traffic access.
Hey guys, truck 128 has turned right heading west.
uh,
Good luck time.
yeah, I think it's this one where they start controlling the traffic lights,
So
which is somewhat realistic, but a little more difficult.
No. So this actually, in Los Angeles, there was a disgruntled worker who basically started affecting some of the lights in the most sensitive parts of the city and caused massive traffic. He basically used his access to the system to intentionally slow it down to the point that people were gridlocked way back from house. So this is actually a real thing. This has happened before.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, and it's mostly insider access.
Yeah.
So this guy just chose to make every single light red, but if someone was more malicious, they could do this.
Well, that's something I've always wondered, because you see the control panels on the side of the intersection sometimes, like the big gray boxes. Like, how practical would it be to just break into that and like put a Raspberry Pi in there and then just control the system?
That seems ridiculous. You could just phish the employees and log into their system and then just, actually control the whole system.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, for this approach, like you have two ideas. You have Michael's idea, which is to break into the box, which is in a very public place, and then like try to like rig something without electrocuting yourself. It seems like this guy just probably phished someone and got their employee access, and it's just using the system in a way that an insider would.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's ever like been a real case of anyone doing anything precisely like this, or like armed truck robbery.
No, I think this is a very, I mean, you would need inside access. This is a very organized job, but is this based on real events? I would say at least the ability to manipulate traffic and cause problems on purpose. Yes, that has actually been done in Los Angeles and, is demonstrated to be something that is doable. And if you fished an employee like that person, you could probably log in and do the same thing.
Yeah, I would say let's do the Mythbusters scale. I would give this one like a plausible, maybe not completely realistic, but
If you were like a nation state, you had the resources to like access traffic cameras to access the system and really go after these municipalities that have systems that are probably remotely enabled. Like I would say that this is possible. It would just require a tremendous amount of coordination and resources that most people would lack.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, I would say like this is based on events that have really happened, something that if you put in enough energy could really happen. Although, whoa.
Actually have a magnet.
All right. Although it would, again, take a substantial amount of resources to coordinate all this, and most municipalities also wouldn't have a system that is capable of doing this sort of advanced, like switching and like individual manipulation of traffic. However, there are bigger companies I'm Palantir that digest these cameras and do advanced analytics. So if you were able to maybe go with a contractor who has access to all the cameras and is doing some sort of, like analysis on license plates or something, suddenly you would be able to do a lot of the stuff that you're seeing here and even track vehicles as they were moving through the city because of license plate recognition and other stuff that really does exist in big cities. So I would say as cities implement license plate scanners, traffic cameras, and automated controls, this is actually pretty plausible.
Yeah.
Although, again, very resource heavy.
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly, if you were transporting something that valuable, you would probably find a lot less loud of a way to transport it to begin with. But
I touched it. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Zam is still
We're being
tracking
tracked.
us, and we still have this on our set. So, hi, Zam.
Okay, so I'll pick up the next one, which is going to be Skyfall, or one of the James Bond movies.
It's Skyfall.
Yeah.
I want to know what's on that computer.
Me too. All right.
I think this is a bit of a longer scene, but
That's fine. Yeah, well, all right. So the computer looks sick. That's the first sign that there's a problem.
it's a very unrealistic sick, though. I would expect a blue screen of death or something.
He's established fail-safe protocols to wipe the memory if there's any attempt to access certain files.
Okay, well, that's not hard.
Yeah.
People in the world could program safeguards like that.
I think there's a lot of people in a second-year computer science class who could program fail-safes like that.
A lot of OSs have
He's very
stuff
proud of
like
the fact that he invented that, but we made something that will, if you send out a tweet, delete your entire operating system. So okay.
Oh yeah, I can pause too. One thing I would mention here too there are a lot of actual hardware disk and I remember the Iron Key USB that have it where if you fail the password 10 times it'll automatically delete everything, and it's super easy. You can just buy it on Amazon.
Yeah. So, but this was specifically apparently triggering access to certain files, which is still something you can very easily do. So the tricky thing about malware analysis.
Yeah.
Sir, what do you make of this?
What are the? Okay.
Very spinny hacks.
This is Omega site.
A what?
Most encrypted level he has.
Okay. All right. So he's
Obfuscated code to conceal its true purpose.
right. So okay, you're using some
Standard
sort of
practice.
steganography. Great. He's got this big whirly worm that's hiding all the data. So yeah, one problem is that if you're analyzing something or if you're just receiving packets like in Wireshark, you can sometimes receive packets that are part of a zero-day exploit. This was a problem with Broadcom for a while, where if you received a malicious packet, it would actually exploit your wireless card, which could then go on to exploit the rest of your phone.
So you believe your stewardship of MI6 during the recent crisis?
So a lot of people will do malware analysis on a virtual machine, but there are instances of escaping virtual machines that can be problematic when you're trying to analyze malware and you don't know what it does yet.
Well, and also that's where OSs like Qubes OS are really great because they compartmentalize everything.
Monumental security breaches and dead operatives for what you are almost single-handedly.
Oh man, she's in so much trouble. Oof.
He's using a polymorphic.
Well, that's something.
Polymorphic what?
Polymorphic encryption.
Oh, all right. So that just means that it's based on multiple languages, and you have to shift in order to figure out what the next one is. So you have to find the pattern in order to decrypt the rest of it because it's not static.
Go in.
Go and expand. This looks like a cloud I saw one time.
Zoom in.
Ooh. What is it?
Okay, that's very unrealistic.
River Road. It's an old tube station on the Metropolitan line. Been closed for years.
So you got
There's a key.
one load of. Okay. Okay, so pause for a second.
Okay.
So this is tricky. So in some there have been. All right. So basically, what they're trying to show here is you can put in 2 different passwords and decrypt 2 different files. So if you're a user and you know a super secret long password, you can get to the real files. But there are also cases where if you use a, like, I'm in distress password or I'm under duress password, then you can instead either unlock something innocuous that looks like maybe it has a couple private files in there but isn't really that suspicious, or you can full on just have a malware sitting on the other side. So I wonder what they just did.
Yeah, well, also, like, I think what they are trying to show here is, like, that if you can find one piece of information, then you can use that to break the rest of the cipher, sort of like with the Enigma machines in World War II.
But that's not the case here at all.
Yeah.
It's very rare that, like, a piece of code... This is very suspicious. If I was analyzing a piece of malware and I found a string and then used it as a decryption key for the rest of it, unless it's too obvious.
Right.
You know, like, in this case, like, the scenario I was outlining where maybe there is data stored here, but there's also an alternative portion of the data that can be decrypted into, for example, a piece of offensive malware by leaving a little clue that somebody who's analyzing it might find. So if I was someone who was conducting an analysis on this piece of code and I found this key and then put it in thinking, oh, I'm going to get access. It was just that easy. These guys are real dumb. Maybe I just decrypted a piece of malware that's based on a 0-day I don't know about and could potentially infect my system. So, like, what it looks like here is this is too good to be true. And by using it as a decryption key, it could be decrypting something that isn't the data they're looking for, but is actually something malicious.
Right, yeah.
Or innocuous and boring, frankly.
Okay.
There it goes. It's expanding.
It's all turning red.
It's a map.
The GUIs for all of these hacks are just bizarre.
Uh-oh.
What's going on? Why are the doors open?
Yeah, no, that's not good.
Some James Bond stuff going on now.
Well, no.
Someone tell me how the hell he got into our system.
Yeah, you plugged his computer in to your computer. Boop.
Not.
Yep. You did that. Yeah, so go ahead and pause.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's over anyway. But
Yeah.
so what happened here was, you know, you have 2 different ways of decrypting the same program. One of them will lead to what you're looking for, and the other one will lead to something potentially terrible. In this
Right.
case, it looks like an IoT exploit, or not an IoT, industrial control exploit against whatever sort of control system they were using. So, of course, is the possibility that someone would have a 0-day exploit for an industrial control system for a building. Is that possible? Yes. Would it be very difficult to find the exact model, the current software, all that stuff, and make sure that it was deployable? It would be very expensive and very difficult. But for, you know, a character who's supposedly, you know, like a master hacker and stuff, who might have access to other people's 0-day exploits maybe, then I guess it might be plausible that tricking someone into decrypting a container that contains malware instead of your actual files is something that could happen, and is in some cases a way that malware authors will try to hide what they're doing by having, for example, if it detects it's running in a virtual machine, it will do something totally different than what it would do if it was running on a friendly computer or a host computer that's suitable for what it's looking for.
Of course. Okay, so the next movie we're going to do is going to be War Games. I don't know, are you familiar with War Games?
I think I saw it a really long time ago.
Yeah, so it's a really classic movie. So we're going to see some old school hacking here.
All right.
You're really into computers, huh?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. What else are you going to be into?
What are you doing?
Dialing into the school's computer.
Bleep, 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 bleep.
So yes, old computers used to be controlled with like weird tones.
So really old school dial-up.
But I know where they write it down.
All right, that's very common. So there was actually I think it was like a senator or somebody who's on like a cybersecurity like committee, just got really mad at someone and took a picture of their computer with their credentials taped to it.
Oh, yeah.
And posted it on Twitter and left it up for almost an entire day.
I
So like this, I mean, this still happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember where it was, but there was like a news agency that did a tour of a building or some facility, and the password to like the facility's systems was just like duct tape or taped to the guy's screen in the background. And I'm like, whoa, how did no one in this entire process notice that But yeah, it's very common. Also, like under keyboards and stuff, it's one of the basic things that really needs to be covered in a lot of like cybersecurity.
No
classes.
visible passwords.
Yeah. Well, also the other thing I've
With
heard.
the mouse. Oh, never mind.
The other thing I've heard too is like, if you do need to write it down, like put it in your favorite book on your bookshelf somewhere, at least.
Yeah. I don't think that I deserved an F. Do you?
This is the number one thing that people ask me to do
Yeah, I know.
when they find out that I know how to hack. They're like, can you change my grades? Can you delete my student loans?
Every beginner hacker.
Whoa.
These are my grades.
How can anybody get a D in home ec?
That's none of your business. Can you erase this,
No,
please?
it's too late.
What are you doing?
Changing
changing your
grades.
No, I don't want you to do that.
See, I do think that touches on like a lot of ethics. Like I think
Nobody can find out. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Like,
Change it
a
back.
Why? They can't possibly.
I said change it back.
Okay.
yeah, one thing is, if this doofus gets caught, anybody whose grades were changed are basically going to be assumed to be involved. It's
Yeah.
like the number one thing with high school hackers is like they usually kind of, first they find a vulnerable system, and then they underestimate how much the institution would freak out.
Yeah.
Because most of the time they just go full on, we don't understand this, it's evil, and you are
Yeah.
a bad person if they find out. I mean, a lot of people learn how to hack in
Well, and also like such a radical change like that, you would have to imagine that
like going from an F to an A.
that
like,
someone would notice, right? Like,
yeah. I would say like, does this happen all the time? Yes. Does it happen in this exactly this manner? No. But like nowadays, so many systems are automated and have online access that teachers are just not good at cybersecurity a lot of the
Yeah.
time, and students sometimes are better at picking up on, maybe where they write down passwords or even just really obvious passwords. So if a student does gain access and learns how to do some hacking, then they can do one of two things. They can either apply those skills in something like going and doing bug bounties or otherwise try to make money ethically, or they can go about changing their grades and probably get caught when someone does notice that the poorly performing student suddenly doesn't need to take their class again and then goes back and sees a change. Now, are you going to get caught 100% of the time? No. But pretty much everybody whose grades are affected by that are going to be implicated and probably be punished alongside. So,
Right.
if you're going to do some hacking, don't implicate your friends.
Yeah.
Like unless you're trying to set them up.
Well,
I guess,
also
but then
that's
they're
kind
not
of what
really
I was
your friends.
touching on, the ethics. Like, I understand the people's motives, but also like, there's so much trouble you would get in. Like, just don't fool around with it. The amount of time you invest in doing that, you could have just studied a little more and gotten a better grade, right? Like,
Well, I understand like bad classes, but like it's just very ethically dubious to start like cheating in school because again, cheating is just bad. Like you'll get caught eventually, and it just isn't a good way to start out your hacking career because it's not really experience you can ever tell anyone about if
Yeah.
you want them to respect you or your abilities, because no one knows now whether or not you can actually do any of the things that you say you can.
yeah.
So
the next one we're gonna do is Tron Legacy.
all right. I have not seen this one.
Ooh, you haven't? I kind of enjoyed it.
I know it's late, so I'll skip the pleasantries and hand things over to our chairman.
Very clean glass. That's great.
No fingerprint smudges.
Thank you, Claire.
Everybody's very blue. It seems like a very somber company.
I'm pleased to announce that NCON's last fiscal year was our most profitable ever.
Oh, good for you.
It's amazing.
This guy seems very nervous. Okay. Oh, that's a spooky security camera.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So burning. Well, that was not subtle at all. If he just replayed the footage, he
Yeah.
would probably figure out that something was messed up. So he overwhelmed the sensor and might have caused it to temporarily either be blind or reboot. Rebooting is the best case scenario because then it goes dead until it comes back up. But blinding it with a really powerful laser is something that is feasible. But in most cases, if it was one of those like blue or violet ones that are really strong and like burn stuff, you would probably actually just burn the sensor to the point that it wouldn't work
That's what I
anymore.
was going to say. I
It
know
would not come back on.
that protesters in certain regions in the past couple of years have been buying cheap laser pointers and pointing them at things to blind them, and particularly camera sensors are vulnerable. Even if you don't, if it's far enough away, you'll just like dazzle it, so it can't really see well. You kind of saw that in this. But also, I've seen things at like CES, Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, where camera sensors of photographers have been burned out by like the laser scanners on self-driving cars and stuff like that. So certainly it is feasible to some degree.
Yeah, I would
at
just say it would be
least.
more likely to just burn it out than reboot
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, but he disabled the camera. Good, good, good. Up the
Head of
stairs.
our software design team, a man whose father's
And because he pulsed it too, it came back online. So like they're not going to go investigate. It just looks like a glitch. But if they
Yeah.
ran the footage back, they'd see some dude was just like.
No, I
lasering
love
hell out of it.
the coffee tapping on the screen thing though too, because that was like so unneeded. Like it was just rebooting in theory.
Oh yeah. Well, everybody hits their computer to fix it, including me. Okay, so we're in the server room. No, we're in the boardroom, which is very dark. I love how they left their lights off.
Tokyo's Nikkei Index.
Yeah, look at that unnecessary
Now trade around the
GUI.
world
All these movies have like
24/7.
really fancy GUIs for no
Wow.
reason.
Wow. Okay, so we have access control bypass. The way he did that is because of nothing. So that's good to know.
Well, I'm guessing.
Oh, he broke the beam, you stupid fool.
Okay, and that beam would
What?
never
What?
be visible in real life.
Right.